Seriously, how can you even be here when you only speak Japanese? A woman laughed and gave me a cunning smile. Mary, the daughter of the firm's CEO, dropped her head uncomfortably, feeling the weight of her stare. Even to a low-level employee like me, she is always kind. I took action to change the situation and decided to discipline Morgan, the unkind client. I stole the show by revealing a side of myself that no one had ever seen. Morgan's face went white as a result. I'm Kyle, and I'm 30 years old. I started working as a mid-career employee at Easy Exams, a company that specializes in educational resources for children, 2 years ago. Everyone was silently concentrating on their computers at work. With only 100 workers, the company isn't very large. I worked hard on my assignments while sitting quietly at my desk. Kyle, would you be able to assist with transcription? It's the minutes of the meeting from yesterday. Yes, no issue. Today, I'll have it prepared. I started writing a summary of the requested minutes after completing my own assignments. Our ethos at Easy Exams is to concentrate on our own job without becoming involved with other people's work. Before I knew it, it was time for lunch. Some others in the cafeteria talked while they ate, but I sat by myself and ate in silence. How is the new endeavor progressing? It appears to be too much to manage. Yes, but Kyle has been assisting and is quite trustworthy. He works quickly. Yes, but don't you find Kyle to be a little mysterious? He never discusses himself. I remained silent and concentrated on my food when I heard this. The day went very quickly, and as people left the office to go home, it became quieter. An increasing number of my coworkers packed up and departed. I turned off my computer after I was done for the day. My manager, Harvey, yelled out to me as I got to my feet. "Are you heading out, Kyle? Fantastic work today. Tomorrow, let's try our hardest once more." "Thank you, indeed." I said, "Have a good evening." He smiled as he nodded. I walked out of the office with a small bow. I hurriedly made dinner, showered, cleaned my teeth, and fell asleep after getting home. I watched videos on my phone for a while till I became tired and went to sleep. I always did that. I saw a missed call from my older sister, Natalie, one day after work. I was curious, so I called her back right away, and she answered. "Hi, Natalie. What's going on?" "Oh, Kyle, sorry to bother you while you're working." "It's okay. What's happening?" She started to say something, but paused, sounding a little sorry. "I actually need your help with something. Would you be able to watch Bella for the weekend only?" "Bella? What took place?" "That is not typical. My sister and her husband own a joyful 2-year-old golden retriever named Bella. They genuinely adore her and consider her the darling of their home. The pet motels are completely booked, and we both have work trips to attend. Normally, one of us is at home all the time, but right now, we're stuck." "I understand. This weekend, isn't it?" "Yes. We'll pick her up by 9 p.m. on Sunday, I swear." I considered it. This weekend, I had nothing planned. I felt it would be enjoyable to play with Bella, and wanted to answer to my family's SOS, whether out of convenience or loneliness. "You got it, Natalie. I'll look after Bella. It will be resolved in some way, so don't worry." "Really? Regards, Kyle. Good luck. Bella has become much more playful. On Saturday morning, I'll bring her over." I got it. So, Saturday, anticipating Bella's visit. "Thank you so much. You're a lifesaver." My sister hung up after saying that. I cleaned up when I got home in order to get ready for Bella. Although the area wasn't disorganized, I made sure nothing potentially harmful was left out for her to inadvertently consume. I did a thorough vacuuming on Friday night and told the landlord, Catherine, what was going on. I'd wanted to make sure there were no misconceptions, even though the unit is pet-friendly. "I'm sorry, Catherine. I have a question." Catherine, who lives close, smiled warmly when I told her about the incident. Oh, I see. It's okay. How thrilling. Being an animal lover, Catherine seemed thrilled and asked about what kind of dog Bella was. I told her Bella was a 2-year-old golden retriever, and Catherine happily mentioned that she had once owned a golden retriever herself. With her approval secured, I felt relieved and ready to welcome Bella. I spent Friday night looking forward to seeing Bella again after such a long time. On Saturday morning, around 7:00 a.m., the doorbell rang. When I answered, there stood my sister and Bella, sitting politely with her tongue out. Good morning, Kyle. Morning, Natalie. Bella. Long time no see. How have you been? Bella barked happily and wagged her tail energetically. I crouched down and gave her a thorough petting. I'll definitely pick her up by 9:00 p.m. tomorrow. Thanks again. My sister left Bella's favorite toys, treats, and food before giving Bella a big hug. Bella, be a good girl and listen to Kyle, okay? With that, my sister waved goodbye and hurried off, pulling her suitcase behind her. My sister, a professional woman, always seems so busy. All right, Bella. Let's have lots of fun over the next 2 days. Bella barked enthusiastically, wagging her tail, and I couldn't help but smile. And so began our 2 days together. Bella's a smart dog who knows how to communicate what she wants. After playing with her toys for a while, she brought me her leash. Do you want to go for a walk? In response to my question, Bella barked excitedly and started circling around me. Amused by her playful pleading, I smiled and attached her leash. There's a large park nearby that even has a dog park. I decided we'd head there and started walking. Isn't this great, Bella? The weather's perfect. Bella barked excitedly, clearly enjoying herself. She wagged her tail vigorously, glancing curiously in all directions. It seemed like she was delighting in the unfamiliar scenery, so I matched her curiosity and took a few detours as we walked. All right, we're here, Bella. After a short break to give Bella some water, we arrived at the park with the dog park. I went to the reception to check in. Hello, do you have proof of vaccination and a license? Yes, I've got them here. Thank you. I pulled out the vaccination certificate and license from the bag my sister had given me. I'll check. Everything looks good, the receptionist said as she returned the documents to me. She explained the rules and precautions for using the dog park. I carefully noted everything and entered the park with Bella. Inside, the park was just the right level of crowded. I firmly held Bella's leash as we stepped in. All right, Bella. Don't bother other dogs if they seem uncomfortable and don't be too persistent, okay? Bella seemed to nod in understanding as if to say, got it. I continued explaining various things to Bella. She circled around me impatiently, as if to say, I get it already, now hurry up and take off the leash. All right. I'm letting you go now. Go on, Bella. As soon as I removed the leash, Bella bolted across the park at full speed. Wow, that's fast. She dashed to an open area away from the other dogs, turning sharply and running in circles, clearly having the time of her life. I took out my phone to record her antics and sent the video to Natalie. Bella sprinted around wildly for a while before returning to me, panting happily. Bella stuck her head into the bag holding her toys and pulled out her favorite ball, pressing it against my stomach. Oh, you want me to throw it? Bella looked at me as if to say, exactly, then backed away a little. I checked the other dogs to make sure none were heading our way. Responding to Bella's urging, I threw the ball as far as I could. Go get it, Bella. Bella joyfully ran after it, grabbed the ball, and brought it back. We repeated this over and over, having a blast at the dog park. Phew, Bella, did you have fun? When I asked her, she licked my face enthusiastically, clearly satisfied. Hey, that tickles. All right, let's head back. We played to our heart's content and decided to head home. But that's when the unexpected happened. All right, Bella, we're almost home. Today was fun. Ha. As I enjoyed the peaceful moment, Bella suddenly flopped down on the ground and refused to move. Bella, what's wrong? We're not home yet. I knelt down to check on her, petting her gently, but she stubbornly stayed put. I tried tugging on her leash and coaxing her, but she wouldn't budge. I recalled videos on social media of dogs refusing to walk, with their owners either carrying them or dragging them like a mop. At the time, I laughed at those videos, thinking how tough it must be. Never thought I'd end up in that position myself. No choice, do I have to carry Bella. Just as I nervously began to slide my arms under Bella, wondering how much she might weigh, a beautiful woman passing by stopped and spoke to me. Oh my, that looks tough. Is this her first walk? I turned around to look at the woman. She was dressed elegantly and wore a gentle smile. Ah, no, actually she's my sister's dog. She's usually energetic, but now she's suddenly refusing to walk. I called out to Bella while tugging on her leash, but she ignored me completely, lying stubbornly on the ground. At my wit's end, I didn't know what to do. Is that so? Would you mind if I helped a little? Sure, I replied, nodding hesitantly. She crouched in front of Bella, gently stroking her while speaking softly. Bella, it's okay to take a break here. No need to push yourself. Do you want to go back slowly? The woman's calm voice and soothing touch seemed to have a magical effect. Bella closed her eyes, clearly enjoying the attention. To my amazement, Bella soon got up and started rubbing against the woman affectionately. I couldn't help but think, wait, what about all the effort I put in? But I was just relieved that Bella finally got up. After Bella had refused to budge for so long, I couldn't help but wonder why. So, I asked the woman. That was amazing. How did you manage to handle it so well? Dogs are very perceptive of human emotions. She probably sensed your frustration and thought it'd be fun to tease you a little. The woman laughed softly as she petted Bella. I could almost swear Bella had a smug look on her face, as if saying, see, I've bet you figured out. Honestly, you really saved me. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. See you again, Bella. The woman gave me a polite bow and waved at Bella before walking away. I returned the bow, thanked her again, and then headed home. On the way back, Bella, having met the woman, walked along in high spirits as if nothing had happened. Bella, next time, please just walk home properly, okay? Of course, Bella pretended not to hear me. The weekend with Bella flew by, and my sister and her husband thanked me profusely for taking care of her. Though I was tired, spending time with Bella was truly refreshing, and I felt fulfilled. Good morning, I said the next day as I arrived at work as usual. However, the office on Monday had an unusual tension in the air. When I asked a few colleagues who had arrived earlier, I learned that there was an emergency all-hands meeting scheduled for that day. What's going on? An all-staff meeting out of the blue. Could it be about poor sales or something? No idea, but it must be important. Let's hope it's good news. As everyone gathered and waited in the large conference room, our CEO, Mr. Kennedy, entered. A few executives followed closely behind him. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. I've called this meeting to make an important announcement. The room fell silent as everyone focused on his words. Due to recent health concerns, I've decided to step down as CEO. Today, I'd like to introduce my successor, my daughter, Mary. She still has a lot to learn, but I hope you'll support and guide her. There was a stir in the room. Mr. Kennedy's retirement was surprising enough, but the announcement that his daughter would be the next CEO was completely unexpected. As Mr. Kennedy turned around, the door opened, and a woman entered the room. The moment I saw her, I was so shocked that I couldn't help but let out a gasp. Wait. The woman stood before the employees with a tense expression and bowed deeply. She was the same woman I had met at the park just the day before. Hello, everyone. My name is Mary. I'm sure the sudden news has surprised you, but I look forward to working with all of you to make this company even better. Thank you for your support. I stared at Mary, unable to believe my eyes. I never imagined that the woman I met at the park would be introduced as the next CEO of our company. Please take care of both the company and Mary moving forward. With those words, Mr. Kennedy, Mary, and the executives bowed, and the urgent meeting came to an end. As the employees began to disperse, Mary noticed me, smiled warmly, and walked over. "Excuse me, aren't you the one taking care of Bella?" "Yes, that's me. Honestly, I'm so surprised to run into you again today and to have you introduced as the next CEO. I didn't see that coming." Mary laughed warmly at my reaction. I was surprised too. As I was introducing myself, I thought, wait, isn't that? It seems we both had quite the surprise. Looking at Mary's smile, I felt a strong desire to help her succeed as the next CEO. It's going to be challenging, but I'll do my best to support you. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Kyle. Nice to meet you. Thank you, Kyle. I look forward to working with you. Mary extended her hand for a handshake, and I firmly shook it. Her hand was small and warm. After starting her role as the CEO in training, Mary actively engaged with each employee, making an effort to speak with everyone and taking a lead in her work. While many employees appreciated her proactive approach, some were not pleased with the fact that she was Mr. Kennedy's daughter. Isn't Mary being treated specially just because she's Mr. Kennedy's daughter? Work has so many small details. Does she even understand that? With those words, a spiteful colleague dumped a pile of documents on Mary and assigned her increasingly complex tasks. Mary, though clearly overwhelmed, tried her best to handle the workload alone, but it was simply too much for one person. When I saw her surrounded by a mountain of papers, I sighed deeply. What an awful thing to do. "Mary, are you okay?" "Yes, I'm fine. It's just, there's so much work piling up. There's no way you can handle this much alone. I'll help you. Let's tackle it together." "Really? Thank you so much, Kyle. That's a relief." Mary's expression softened slightly, showing her gratitude. "Of course. Let's get started." By working together to clear the paperwork and streamline the tasks, Mary gradually regained her composure. This event seemed to naturally increase the conversations between us. We started having lunch together more often and sharing our thoughts and goals during breaks. It was around that time when I was unexpectedly summoned to Mr. Kennedy's office. As I entered, Mr. Kennedy greeted me with a warm smile. "Kyle, I have a favor to ask of you. Could you become Mary's secretary and support her?" "Me? As Mary's secretary? I'm not really the type who likes to stand out." I felt confused and decided to share my honest feelings. Mr. Kennedy acknowledged my hesitation but continued to persuade me. "I've seen you and Mary together. While I understand she's not always viewed favorably by others, and it pains me to see her go through that, this is something she needs to overcome on her own. But when she's with you, she shows a relaxed smile, just like when she's at home." I was surprised by Mr. Kennedy's words. The thought that being with me helped her relax was unexpected. Knowing I might be supporting her warms my heart. If that's true, it makes me genuinely happy. If you support her, I'm confident she'll grow into her role. Please, Kyle. Mr. Kennedy looked at me with a serious expression. After a moment of thought, I made my decision. For Mary's sake, all right. If it's for Mary, I'll take on the role of her secretary. At my response, Mr. Kennedy's face lit up with genuine joy. He grabbed my hands with both of his and shook them vigorously. "Thank you. Truly, thank you. Mary will be so happy." When Mary heard about my appointment as her secretary, she was ecstatic. "Really? Are you serious? With you by my side, it feels like I have an army of support." Her radiant smile was so infectious that I couldn't help but smile too. I'm glad you feel that way. I'll do my best to support you, so let's work hard together. Taking on my new role as Mary's secretary, I worked alongside her to manage the day-to-day tasks. One day, it was decided that we would attend a party where several clients would also be present. The event included multinational companies, not just from English-speaking regions, but also from French and Chinese-speaking areas. I assumed everything would go smoothly, especially since interpreters were arranged for the event. Or so I thought. Wait. What? Are you serious? When we arrived at the venue, Mary's phone rang. As she spoke, her face turned pale. Looking at me in distress, I silently gestured to ask her what was wrong. The interpreters can't make it. You're kidding. Mary already seemed nervous about attending her first party as the company's representative. Now, hearing about the interpreter's absence, she looked ready to collapse. After ending the call, her face was completely pale. Are you okay, Mary? She barely reacted to my question. This is really bad, I thought. I gently guided her to an empty chair and went to fetch her a drink. When I returned, I saw Mary standing, accompanied by another woman. It was M. Morgan, the CEO of Morgan Trading, one of our clients. Miss Morgan, it's a pleasure to see you again, I greeted her. Miss Morgan responded with a cold smirk. Oh, hello. You're the one who recently became a secretary, aren't you? Let me see, Kyle. It's been a while. I had met Miss Morgan during Mary's client visits before, and she always carried an air of superiority. She was the complete opposite of Mary in demeanor. While I found her somewhat difficult to deal with, I kept that to myself. Even now, I responded with a polite smile. Yes, Kyle. Well, Miss Morgan said, I've heard Mary only speaks Japanese. That's not very useful in a global business setting, is it? Honestly, I wonder how someone like that even dares to show up here. Wouldn't it be better to leave? Mary's expression briefly showed a trace of sadness at those words. However, she said nothing and lowered her head. Seeing her like that made anger well up inside me. Hold on a moment, Miss Morgan. Yes, Kyle? What is it? She asked, clearly irritated. Mary is an incredible person and an invaluable asset to our company. The fact that she only speaks Japanese doesn't diminish her worth in the slightest, I said with conviction. My words seemed to irritate Miss Morgan even more. Poof. Anyone can talk big, but in a global business setting, multilingual skills are essential. With that, Miss Morgan walked over to a group of multilingual representatives. Moments later, she returned, bringing all of them with her. I couldn't shake a bad feeling about what was coming next. Mary, this is Jaku from France, Klaus from Germany, and Maria from Spain. Why don't you greet them? Mary hesitated, but managed to muster a smile and bowed. Hello. Nice to meet you. The representatives looked visibly puzzled, while Miss Morgan gave a faint smirk. Oh, Mary, it seems Japanese alone might be a bit challenging here, don't you think? She said mockingly. Reaching my limit with her condescending attitude toward Mary, I decided it was time to reveal my hidden abilities. Good evening, Jaku. It's a pleasure to meet you tonight, I said in fluent French. Mary exclaimed, What? In surprise, her eyes wide with astonishment. I gently placed my hand on Mary's back, encouraging her to step forward. Go ahead, Mary. Don't worry, I'll translate everything for you. When I winked at her, Mary finally relaxed and gave me a relieved smile. But French alone won't be enough, right? Miss Morgan sneered. I turned to her with a calm smile. Don't worry, Miss Morgan. I speak 7 languages. I continued by speaking in German and Spanish with the 2 representatives Miss Morgan had introduced. Starting with Mary's self-introduction, I sprinkled in some light jokes to make the conversation more engaging. As the atmosphere grew livelier, more people gathered around us, and I switched to Chinese, Korean, English, and Italian to introduce Mary to them as well. Together, Mary and I engaged in enjoyable conversations with the representatives. It had been a while since I used all 7 languages, and my brain was working at full capacity. Though I had been nervous at first, my past efforts didn't let me down. The conversations flowed smoothly, and we had a highly productive and enjoyable time. At some point, I realized Miss Morgan had left the area, glaring at us from afar with a bitter expression. I couldn't help but think, serves you right, though I knew it wasn't the most mature thought. Ah, I'm so glad everything went well. It's all thanks to you, Kyle, Mary said as we left the party venue. Mary got into a taxi, and the moment it started moving, exhaustion seemed to hit her like a wave. That's not true, Mary. It's all thanks to your hard work. I only managed because you translated for me, but still, there were several leads for potential deals tonight. What a success, Mary said, practically bouncing with excitement. Indeed, the party had expanded our network and seemed to open up promising new business opportunities. Hey, how about we grab something to eat? My treat. I barely ate anything, and now I'm starving, Mary suggested. As she said that, I realized I was hungry too. Speaking 7 languages after so long had taken its toll, and I could use some food. Gratefully, I accepted Mary's offer. The taxi took us to a French restaurant where we decided to enjoy a proper meal. Cheers. Cheers. We clinked our glasses, each sipping a single glass of wine. As we ate, reflecting on the ups and downs of the party made for an enjoyable conversation. When dessert arrived, Mary suddenly grew serious. Kyle, can I ask you something? How is it that you can speak 7 languages, yet before I joined, you were doing mostly manual tasks? Her directness made me chuckle a little. She had always been the type to ask whatever was on her mind without hesitation. I decided to be honest and opened up about my past. I graduated from Harvard University, and I can speak 7 languages, I revealed. Mary's eyes widened in astonishment. What? That's incredible. Harvard? But why didn't you ever mention it before? I sighed deeply, gazing into the distance as I began to explain. I've always been good at studying, always been the smart one. My life seemed smooth sailing for a while, but because of that, I faced a lot of envy and resentment from others. That's terrible, Mary said. When you excel too much, there's always someone who won't like it. I never boasted about my abilities. At least I don't think I did, but it didn't matter to some people. Looking out the window, I recalled the challenges of my past. Back then, I was working at one of the most well-known companies in Japan, thriving in a competitive environment. Wow, Kyle's on it again. That guy can do everything. He nails every project and gets nothing but praise from the boss. But honestly, he's kind of annoying. Maybe he should think about how it feels for the rest of us. I remembered colleagues whispering. I wasn't oblivious to those whispers, but I didn't let them bother me. During school, I had similar experiences, but usually managed to turn things around and make friends. But that was back in school. I later realized that was a naive assumption. One afternoon, on my way to a meeting, my colleague Hayden stopped me in the hallway. Hey Kyle, got a second? Sure. What's up? Look, I need a favor. I've got this new project, and I'm swamped. Could you help put together the materials? I'd owe you one. Seeing how stressed he looked, I agreed to help. My own work was mostly finished, and preparing some documents wasn't a big deal. All right, I'll take care of it, I said readily, never imagining that during the project meeting, it would be revealed that the materials I had prepared contained significant errors. The manager, Mr. Miles, spoke up. Kyle, what is the meaning of this? These figures are completely wrong. What? That can't be. Standing at the back, Hayden folded his arms, a sly smile playing on his lips. Wow, even Kyle makes mistakes. This is a big deal, though, he said. His words seemed concerned, but the amusement in his eyes made it painfully clear he had set me up. As I stood there, stunned by the situation, I could hear Mr. Miles' exasperated sigh. This will delay the entire project. Someone needs to take responsibility. Although I wasn't fired, that incident marked the beginning of persistent harassment from my colleagues. I wasn't informed of important updates, was intentionally ignored during meetings, and subjected to other subtle forms of mistreatment. Why is this happening to me? I wondered. All I ever wanted was to work hard and get along with everyone. From that moment, I decided to hide my abilities and make an effort to stay unnoticed. When I shared this with Mary, her eyes welled up with tears. You've been through so much, and yet you became my secretary and helped me like this. I don't even know how to thank you. Seeing her tears, I couldn't help but speak my mind. That's because I like you, Mary. Mary responded to my sudden confession with a surprised "oh," her face quickly turning bright red. I'm sorry if this feels sudden, I continued, but when Bella wouldn't walk, and you helped me, I thought you were such a kind person for smiling at someone like me. And even after finding out you're Mr. Kennedy's daughter and the company's next CEO, you never changed. At work, I was the type of guy who blended into the background, barely noticed. Yet every time we met, Mary would always make the effort to greet me. Even after becoming her secretary, her presence in my life had grown immensely important. Today was no different. Seeing Miss Morgan mock Mary and deliberately put her in a tough spot made my anger boil over. As your secretary, I know saying something like this might put you in a difficult position, and I'm sorry. But I'd like to be with you. Even if you turn me down, I'll still do my job properly, and I won't let it affect my behavior or... Before I could finish, Mary interrupted me. I won't say no. Absolutely not. Her voice was so loud, it drew the attention of those around us. We both bowed repeatedly, apologizing for the disturbance. Does that mean? I asked cautiously. Mary, her face still bright red, nodded. I like you too, Kyle. Mary's radiant smile was the brightest I had ever seen. From that moment, we became partners in both our personal and professional lives. Our relationship flourished, and a year after we started dating, we got married. We decided to celebrate our union with a wedding ceremony. Oh no, what am I going to do? I'm so nervous, I muttered, pacing back and forth in the groom's waiting room. Natalie couldn't help but laugh at me. Seriously? Why are you the one freaking out? That's pathetic. The star of the day is Mary, not you. She wasn't wrong, but nerves were nerves, and I couldn't help it. Which was more nerve-wracking, your Harvard entrance exam or this? For a moment, I almost said Harvard, but honestly, nothing compared to the pressure of this wedding. After all, just seeing my father-in-law, Mr. Kennedy, was nerve-wracking enough. Definitely this, I admitted. The wedding. Natalie burst out laughing. Bella, did you hear that? Kyle says he's nervous. What a problem. Halt. Bella, being petted by Natalie, barked energetically in response. Then she came over to me, pressing against me as if to say, get it together. Thanks, Bella. Not just for today, but for everything. Meeting Mary was all because of you. I gave Bella a thorough petting, and she responded enthusiastically, wagging her tail. Today, Bella was set to play a special role, not as a ring bearer, but as our ring dog. Bella, who had been the reason Mary and I first met, held a special place in both our hearts. Even now, whenever work gets overwhelming, Mary often sighs and says, I just want to see Bella. Bella loves Mary just as much. Whenever we visit Natalie's place, she completely ignores me and jumps straight into Mary's arms. Hey Kyle, it's time. Get out there. Is it all ready? All right. I'm nervous, but I'll do my best. That's the spirit. I'll be watching. Natalie gave me a firm pat on the back and sent me off. Bella, too, nudged my leg as if to say, You've got this. I went ahead to the chapel to wait for Mary. I was certain that even greater happiness lay ahead for us. there would undoubtedly be challenges, but I knew that together, Mary and I could handle anything. With that thought in mind, I stood there, waiting for the chapel doors to open. When they finally did, and I saw Mary standing there, I couldn't help but smile. I would want to ask you, high school dropout, what makes you believe that your pay is merely $444? It indicates that you are no longer a burden to us. Leave. Put differently, you're let go. When payday finally arrived, I noticed that my account had only received $444. Vice President Daniel scoffed and fired me without warning. How come? Terminated? Even so, what does that mean? Performance-based evaluation is the foundation of our organization. Did you really believe you could afford to be lazy and yet be paid? We just cannot afford to retain such a worthless employee. Now leave this spot and remove all traces of yourself. You are useless. Daniel moved away from me and smashed his hand against the desk. This is just AB, right? Though fine, my fists twitched with wrath. I've exhausted all options. All right, whatever happens, I'll remove any traces of myself. It doesn't concern me. Daniel would later crawl back to me, sobbing. Henry is my name. My 40th birthday was last month. Upon reflection, the upbringing I received was quite challenging. My brother Nathan and I were taken in by relatives after our parents passed away when we were little, but nobody showed us much love. Our lives were always crammed full of restrictions and discomforts. I was teased and called names at school all the time. Since his birth, Nathan has been weak and frequently absent from school. Being impoverished was difficult enough, but Nathan's lack of attendance made him stick out even more in his class. Motivated by a desire to keep Nathan safe, I put a lot of effort into my studies and athletics, pushing myself to excel in both areas. I was the class president in elementary school, and I worked really hard every morning to be the anchor in the sports day relay. Upon learning that Nathan was Henry's brother, the bullies who had been pursuing him began to retreat. I started junior high school right as perceptions about us started to shift. Even if my coursework and extracurricular activities were harder, I made a lot of effort to stay up. My classmates began treating me with ease by the time I was in my third year. I received a resounding endorsement from everyone when I stood for student council president. I still recall how thrilled I was to be accepted by everyone at last. I went to the nearby high school because I was an excellent student. To find out what really attracted me, I wanted to go to a private school, but my foster father wouldn't let me. Nevertheless, I was fortunate to have companions who could relate to me, and I felt like I was still young. Nathan had to be hospitalized after collapsing. The hospital expenses surprised me with how much more they were. In essence, our relatives said we were not their responsibility and declined to offer any assistance. My foster parents, who were throwing us meager treatment funds, even frowned. Nathan's condition was unstable, and I was overcome with a strong sense of dread as I considered how long this unknown stay would last. Ultimately, I had no choice but to leave high school. Nathan had to work a part-time job in order to pay for his hospital costs, which was far from adequate. I lost hold of the bright, promising youth I had once clung to. I apologize, Nathan said. I was packing away some of my home-worn clothing. What are you apologizing for? I smiled at Nathan, trying not to show how tired I was, but he seemed hurt that I had to quit school and go to work for him. But my only family was Nathan. Being the older brother, it comes naturally to work hard for my family. You're like a superhuman who does exceptionally well in school and athletics, but you had to give up a lot because of me, this frail, costly burden. I don't even deserve to live this way. Stop it. By mistake, I yelled. Sorry. No, you are not at blame. In actuality, I've been able to push myself so far because of you. Okay, so this is it. You should have this. I gave Nathan something that I had taken out of a paper bag. His expression brightened instantly. Whoa, The game I've been craving is this one. However, wasn't it pricey? Never undervalue the impact of my work. Well, use this to lift your spirits. Yeah, thanks, Henry. As I observed Nathan gleefully examining the gaming system, I resolved that enough was enough. I currently work as a contract employee for a cleaning firm, but my senior colleague and I are heading to the office of a major IT company today. I was observing the office atmosphere closely as I went through the unsorted trash bins. Everyone appeared to be completely absorbed in their work, crouched over their computers and working frantically. My senior colleague remarked, "This place has a gloomy vibe, doesn't it?" I warily questioned, "Have you done cleaning in these kinds of companies a lot?" as we collaborated. "Yes, it's true that more and more of these computer companies are opening up these days," he said, winking at the stench filling the air. Abruptly, I saw a large pamphlet in the combustible waste. The word programming was inscribed on it. Do you know what programming is? No idea, but that's recyclable. So pull it out of the burnable trash, he said. Got it. Even though I kept working as instructed, the phrase programming stayed with me. Upon concluding yet another demanding workday, I hurried to the nearby bookstore. I did a quick search for the book I wanted to read. There it is. It must be a job in demand if businesses like this are expanding, as my senior stated. I noticed that my interest in programming was growing. Perhaps this could work to my advantage. As I turned the pages through the pages of technical jargon, I started to get excited and hopeful again, just like I did in school. I therefore began studying programming assiduously in the lulls between jobs, forcing myself to stay awake whenever any new, obscure technical term popped up. I kept studying, going without sleep. I continued this demanding schedule for 2 years. Lastly, I was able to pass the Fundamental Information Technology Engineer examination, which is required in order to become a certified software engineer. After achieving this, as just 1 out of 5 candidates passed the exam, I carried on with my studies and earned a number of additional system-related certifications that are necessary for any software engineer. I started out as a software engineer and gained experience by working for a number of system development and game production organizations. I was in charge of a government-affiliated website's operations when I was employed for a large telecom corporation. And once more, I was given the responsibility of developing the system for a well-known app game while working for a subcontractor. As a software engineer, these experiences have really increased my confidence. With a helpful employer and encouraging coworkers, I had a busy but happy life. I left the company with a heavy heart, but I had a purpose in mind. I now work for a firm that develops video games. Just a few years after its founding, this firm published its first game, which went on to become an international hit and was even approved for use as an official game in well-known esports competitions. Since then, the business has kept releasing shooters, role-playing games, and role-playing games, quickly becoming a challenger to big-name game companies. The organization is split into 2 departments: systems, which is in charge of game creation, and management, which is in charge of internal infrastructure and general affairs. I work in the systems department's game programming team. It really is the center of a corporation that makes video games. Daniel, the vice president, currently oversees the company's management. Daniel is an intelligent individual, but he also believes strongly in academic qualifications and has a propensity to be self-righteous. Daniel seemed to take great satisfaction in his ability to manage better than everyone else. He had previously been a founder member of a startup, but because he had no prior experience in the gaming industry, he made a lot of unnecessary demands without really knowing what he was getting into. Hey, how's the game that's supposed to come out in 2 months going? Well, by early next week, we should have a sample ready. Get it done by tomorrow. How come? But take note, I do mean it when I say tomorrow. Indeed. In this field, when meeting deadlines is crucial, working overtime is just part of the work. For this reason, efficient scheduling is crucial. But you have to rework the entire plan when unforeseen chores arise like this one. Consequently, there was an enduring sense of fatigue that pervaded the office. I was sick of this environment, so I made it a point to help my coworkers and do my work quickly. As a result, I frequently left the workplace on time. It was the same today. Aurora, a new employee, shouted out to me as I was about to leave the office after finishing all of my chores. "Hi, Henry. What's going on?" She was in charge of the management department's internal systems, and even though she was working nonstop, she always seemed to exude energy and positivity. Her eyes met mine directly, her features defined in a gentle brown. "Who are you really, Henry?" What? What an impromptu query. Even though everyone in this place is overworked, you always manage to do everything and get out on time. It's honestly difficult to believe. Was she trying to be ironic? Aurora smiled broadly at me, as if to conceal a plan, and said, "Since you're so good at your job, I have something I'd really like your help with." I wasn't exactly sure what she was trying to tell me. Hello. Good morning. First thing in the morning. The formerly tense environment had considerably subsided, even if my team was still overburdened with work, and there were even times when we were able to have a little conversation. Aurora took the initiative to design and deploy a productive work management system around a month ago. She had long questioned the particular working methods of this sector and had gone to management with her concerns, saying it wouldn't be shocking if some workers died from overwork if things kept going this way. There has been a noticeable drop in overtime since the system's introduction. Daniel was happy with this accomplishment, of course. "Well, we've avoided a problem for the staff members because of this system. All of it is due to you, Aurora. We ought to have a celebration someday soon." "Thank you, but in all honesty, it's because the team worked together." No. Like Henry, the person over there, who was attempting to escape, these people did nothing. Just as I turned to walk away, Daniel called my name. Instinctively, I spun around. I get annoyed with people like you who just give up and leave on time. You pretend to be above everything, even though you know that everyone else is working extremely hard. No cooperation among teammates. You're just putting on a brave face and pushing the responsibility for your work on others. Isn't that right? I felt shivers down my spine as he sneered, yet there was no laughter in his eyes. "Henry, Daniel is. Did you know that Aurora is merely a high school dropout? In this society, a dropout is garbage. Spending time with someone like him could be detrimental to your promising career. You ought to be selective about the people you associate with. For instance, someone like myself who works in a top-tier position and graduated from a prestigious college. Speak what you want to say." Daniel's hatred for me was growing every day, but I didn't care to interact with him. For instance, I was the only one who was unaware of changes to the company's holiday schedule, as if I should report for duty even on my days off. And I also never received the year-end tax adjustment paperwork. These were obviously Daniel's directives. The other employees seemed to recognize this was Daniel's doing, but since he was practically the main authority in the organization, no one dared to say up. They were confined to spectator mode. Even though I couldn't help but experience a range of emotions, I kept my entire attention on my work. I didn't care as long as the work was completed. However, at about that same moment, something unexpected happened. I went to the ATM today, payday, to take out some cash before I went to the workplace. I was taken back for a second as I glanced swiftly at my bank book. After wiping my eyes, I took another look at the bank book. How come? What does this signify exactly? It was just $444 that was deposited. Is there a chance that there is a system error? I hurried to the company after exiting the ATM quickly. "Daniel, could you please explain this?" HR instructed me to go to the vice president's room as soon as I got to the office, so I hurried over without stopping to gather my breath. Daniel mumbled something ridiculous in a tone that seemed strangely calm. What is there to clarify? Here is our assessment of you. Your compensation is determined by the worth of the task you do. It's reasonable for someone who doesn't work well in a team, hardly works at all, and adds nothing to the business. You salary thief should actually be thankful that you're receiving anything at all. My body flushed from the sheer audacity of his comments, but Daniel didn't stop there. He persisted in moving forward. All right, Mr. High School Dropout, I have a question for you. Why is $444, in your opinion? That means show to get rid of a burden like you, Daniel remarked, dismissively waving his right hand as if shooing away a nuisance. Put differently, you're let go. Do you really believe you can just get by here and get paid? No, I'm not blind. We don't have money to squander on pointless things. Now, remove all traces of yourself and leave. After receiving this unquestionable announcement of my termination, I departed the vice president's office in shock, but determined to carry out a plan I had been covertly mulling over. I started organizing my desk by myself after hearing my teammates' repeated warnings so loudly that they seemed to be echoing in my ears. Suddenly, Aurora cried out, "Henry." "Oh, Aurora, I appreciate all of your effort." Aurora was wearing a severe expression. "Why?" I took a careful look at her. There was anger in her eyes, but also sadness. However, I hesitated for a while before responding to her query, adding, "Aurora, I'm sorry, but there's something I need to ask you to do." I looked at the clock once more. The time was 10:00 a.m. I hadn't slept that soundly in a very long time. Daniel's harassing had prevented me from getting home at a decent hour for the last few months. Being able to live a typical human existence again felt amazing. I was contemplating having a haircut for the first time in a long time when my phone loudly buzzed on the bedside table. I quickly looked at the screen before pressing the call button. "Hello." "Hey, Henry." Anger was in Daniel's high-pitched voice. "You really did it this time." "What are you talking about?" "Avoid acting foolish. Anyhow, come back right now. The business is seriously in trouble." "What happened?" "It appears that you were the one who devised the work management system that Aurora produced. She filled me in on everything. Please return here." Daniel sounded desperate as well as angry, but I just scratched my head and said, "Yeah, that's correct. It was me who designed that system." I asked her if she had made it or not. "Why would you do anything like that, Henry? And why did you ruin the framework?" Daniel was growing increasingly enraged. "Well, Daniel, didn't you say that I should remove all traces of myself when I leave?" "I deleted everything I had made, just as you said." On the other end of the telephone, I heard Daniel gasp. "Yes, that is what I said, but this is sabotage. As vice president, I'm telling you to return right now." "I'm sorry, but I won't be coming back." I hung up the phone after that since I thought the whole thing was silly. I fall back into bed and think about the talk I had with Aurora 3 months prior. Aurora stopped me shortly after work and asked for my assistance with something. "What do you want me to help with?" "I want you to team up with me to create a certain system." "A system?" "Yes." Aurora then launched into a passionate explanation of all the issues with the company's current state and the work environment. I could only nod in agreement. Aurora's eyes intensified in determination. "In my department, we are in the process of creating a new work management system. If this approach is put into place, it ought to significantly alter the way we operate." With those words, Aurora reached into her left hand to get some documents from a clear folder. "This is an outline of the system." I gave it some thought as I turned through the documents she gave me. "All right, I'll help you, but I have one condition. If you agree to it, I'll build almost the entire system myself." "What? Everything? Isn't that a little excessive?" "Well, of course, there will be parts where I'll need your help, Aurora." Surprised, Aurora's eyes grew wide. Then I explained to her my situation. I didn't want my name to be mentioned at any point during the system's development, as that would have revealed my true emotions. When I closed my eyes, I was brought back to the months I had spent working with Aurora, doing endless tests, locating issues, and fixing them. We meticulously carried out these actions again, progressively modifying the system. To be honest, developing this system was really difficult, but I persevered because I liked being a software engineer and because Aurora's enthusiasm motivated me even more. In addition, I intended to enhance the business. I picked up my phone once more and placed a call. "Hello?" There came a voice over the telephone that I had been longing to hear. "Sorry to bother you at such a tough time." "It's all right. Above all, I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience I gave you." For a brief while, Aurora was silent. "You deserve more recognition." "It still defies my acceptance. Why were you forced to quit the company?" "I have lost interest in the company. In addition, Mr. Carter, you ought to tell the president everything. Give up lurking in the dark. You ought to be acknowledged." It was Aurora's remarks that silenced me. My phone vibrated the following day while I was getting ready in the restroom. It was Daniel once more. His tone had altered drastically from the previous day when I reluctantly took the phone. He was sobbing almost completely. "Oh, please, I beg you. Aid us. I've been checking with the staff since yesterday, but we can't seem to get the system back up and running. And Mr. Carter came back today, and he is very angry about the state of affairs. Kindly stop by for a short while." I got chills down my spine from the desperation in his words. However, I consented to visit the office. It was completely disorganized when I entered the office for the first time in a long time. The phones kept ringing, and a few staff members were engaged in lengthy conversations on their personal phones. Daniel ran over as soon as he saw me. Mr. Carter and Aurora stood behind him, staring with icy eyes. "Thank you so much, Henry. You've saved my life." As Daniel stated this, he attempted to cling to me, but I deftly sidestepped him and moved to stand behind Aurora and Mr. Carter. "Mr. Carter, my sincere apologies for causing such mayhem. I am solely to blame. Although Aurora has told me everything, I would still like to speak with you directly. What specifically transpired?" Mr. Carter gave me a look, but did not say anything critical. I took a deep breath and started telling Daniel all the abuse and harassment I had experienced. Daniel shot back, saying, "What? The fact that you broke the system remains unaffected. Give up attempting to assign responsibility." I was so fed up with Daniel's pestering that I felt compelled to blow up the system. Nevertheless, given the potential harm to the business, I saw it as a form of vengeance for the abuse. I've provided Aurora with the information required to fix the system. I turned to look at Aurora, and she stared down at it. "What happened to the recovery data?" "Nevertheless," she stated, "when I heard from you that your salary was only $444, I couldn't believe it," in response to my question. Aurora turned to face Daniel at that point and said, "Henry is a really gifted software developer. He is deserving of even greater praise. As opposed to that, you harassed him to the point of annoyance and even attempted to eject him. Daniel, I wanted you to genuinely realize how awful your acts have been." However, Aurora inhaled deeply to regain her composure. "I fully accept responsibility for the chaos that resulted within the organization as a result of my negligence of the recovery process. Even though Henry left the recovery data behind, I did it of my own volition. I sincerely apologize. Henry should not be the target of any punishment. Instead, it should be me." She stood up straight and made a deep bow. Daniel started talking, and at last Mr. Carter broke his stillness. Startled, Daniel turned to face him. Mr. Carter stated calmly yet angrily, "You are responsible for this entire fiasco." Daniel tried to object, but Mr. Carter disregarded him and turned to face Aurora. "I want you to look into this. Find out from the other staff members if he has done anything else improper. Your insights will help me determine the best line of action." Daniel fell to the ground in defeat, recognizing he could not argue his way out of this. Then Mr. Carter turned to face me, saying, "Henry, I want to talk to you by yourself." When I initially walked into the president's office, I noticed that it was stocked with video game titles that the firm had created over the years. I made a deep bow. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, for making such a fuss. Everything was an idea of mine. It had nothing to do with Aurora. I'm willing to take any and all penalties." "Why do you always do this?" Mr. Carter yelled in annoyance, his tone having changed from one of calmness. I looked up. My younger brother Nathan was there, looking pained. "Yes, my brother Nathan is the president of this game production company. Henry, you've always been this way, giving yourself up and attempting to keep everyone else out of danger. Do you have any idea how often seeing you like that has made me feel hurt as your brother?" I could only stare down silently, realizing for the first time how Nathan really felt. Nathan kept me going even though he saw me in this state, which just made him hate himself for feeling helpless and unworthy. "Henry, I'm nothing like you. All I am is a failure." Nathan was always irritated with me, even after he was released from the hospital, and he started to avoid me more and more. I'm trying my best for Nathan, but in the end, I'm only causing him more pain. At that point, Nathan's health was largely stable, so he made the decision to launch a game production company with some internet friends who shared his interests. Nathan built a string of successful games very rapidly because of his extraordinary imagination. As the business expanded quickly and became a significant organization, he faced more pressure as president. Nathan eventually had another hospital stay as a result of his health declining due to stress. Nathan had briefed me on the state of the company, and the performance of the company started to deteriorate at the time of his illness. Despite my desire to assist, I was certain that Nathan would never want me to get involved directly. So I made the decision to join the company in secret. But I also realized that too much activity would just make Nathan more upset. I made the decision to labor in the background with the exclusive goal of raising the organization's performance. "Did you really think that would make me happy, Henry?" Nathan's eyes shot straight through me, piercing with a mixture of despair and rage. "To you, I'm still just your sickly little brother, aren't I? But my past self is no longer me. I was really irritated when I first learned that you had come to work for my company." Nathan kept going, balling his fists. "Even after becoming an adult and the president of a company like this, I thought you still only saw me as your weak little brother." Tears were pooling in his eyes. "I'm not as helpless as you once believed. Did you not notice that today?" Nathan moved to get closer to me. "We're a real family, so you don't have to act like a superhero in secret." Rather, he grabbed my hand and gave it a firm squeeze. "Will you help support the company with me from now on?" I was unable to look him in the eye as tears welled up in my eyes. It has been 1 month since the disastrous system. Daniel was let go from the organization with good reason. Nathan had first met him when he founded the business. Having worked in consulting before, he gained Nathan's trust by teaching him everything there was to know about management. However, that was only his public persona. According to Aurora's research, Daniel had been working covertly to take over the company. He had changed the rights to his advantage and had planned with partners to purposefully harm the company's performance in order to remove Nathan from his role as president. After being fired from the company, Daniel allegedly made an effort to use his background and experience to work as a freelance management consultant. However, he had trouble finding employment because of his conceited demeanor and dubious character. He's currently working part-time jobs to make ends meet, and I chanced to notice him directing traffic on the street the other day. Who, of all people, would have guessed Daniel? Regarding myself, I accepted Nathan's invitation to come back to the company and helped him out by joining the board and working as a software developer. Although it appeared that everyone in the workplace had previously felt that Nathan and I were brothers, it was nevertheless a great relief to be able to express this openly. After going through this recent struggle, Aurora and I were able to communicate our feelings to one another and began dating. I swore I would never injure people who were important to me again after thinking back on the current circumstance, which I could not have predicted when I first started working for the organization. In retrospect, I see that I have been bearing a great deal of the weight alone. I've seen firsthand how giving up everything for my family may ultimately hurt them and even people I care about. My family and loved ones mean the world to me, and this recent upheaval has made that clear to me. Together with the individuals that mean most to me, I want to make things that make a lot of people happy in the future, no matter what barriers or difficulties we may encounter.